Well, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another special episode of Dr. Mouvet, which is the French version, if you're not hip on that.
Mouvet, yeah.
Mouvet. And, man, this is going to be a great one because I was saying this before we even started the show, but you kind of get your top tier list of people that you always like to work with. And this guy right here, I was just telling Lee when we started this about his impact of his show that he has, what it had on Hail Ming, kind of led to us deciding not to just be another horror podcast. Same deal with what I'm doing right here with Dr. Movie. I pretty much have the freedom to do whatever I want to, and it's really because of listening to Lee Russell and the guys over at They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. They must be destroyed on sight.
I should have had my soundboard up. I could have played that right away, but oh well. But yeah, no, I mean, I was actually, when you told me that, I was really surprised to hear it, because it's like I don't even know who listens to my podcast anymore. I got like a dedicated audience of like maybe 80 to 100 people, and hardly anyone ever. I'm sure you know this as well, as you know, just podcasting as a hobby kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thankless job, right? Because like no one ever like really reaches out to you necessarily all the time. At least in my experience, like very rarely do we get comments or people saying, "Oh, we're big fans" or whatever the hell. So it's like, am I just talking out into the void every month and no one's listening? Or it's just automatically downloading to their iTunes and they never check it, you know? So
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, thank you. That actually makes me feel good to know that we had some sort of influence on an excellent show. So you know, that's even better.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and I even said, you know, Danny, my counterpart, who is a hard egg to crack, right? He has his opinions, and when he said, "Hey, I really like this show," you know, and it was because of the fact of you weren't just stuck in a corner and only can do this type of movie, and that really led to what Helming was gonna be, whatever happens with that show. He's so busy that it's just hard for us to get together. So this is my little side pet project where I can always do some things. Of course, I always think about you coming on Short Bus, and you knocked it out of the park with Death Sport.
Yeah, we did Death Sport, and we did Robo Vampire.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So I mean, automatically, I just let you know that Lee and I are at least in the same ballpark of we love a good bad movie, and you know, but we like it all too, right? So that's the reason, again, of going through. I've been going through this like exploitation stuff, right? All these old redneck car chasing movies and all this stuff. There's a whole set of Smokey and the Bandit knockoff movies that I didn't know existed.
Oh yeah. There's just a ton of like sequels to Smokey and the Bandit, right? There's like TV sequels and stuff like that in the 90s, I think. And
yeah, I mean, they just they took the name and run with it. But yeah, you had, you know, even Roger Corman was cranking out Smokey Bites the Dust and all these, where he was just refabricating old material, putting different people in scenes and just saying, put Smokey in the title and it'll sell, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of exploitation, have you ever seen like, and this isn't a Smokey and the Bandit thing, but like, Macon County Line?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Boy, that movie's something.
Yeah, that's the real stuff.
Yeah, that's coming up pretty soon, actually. That's when there's a second one of that too.
Yeah, I've never seen the second one yet. So.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like how I describe. I don't know if you're a fan of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Well, you know, there's a sequel to that.
Yeah.
And the sequel's pretty good if you never saw the first one.
Okay.
If you've seen the first one, then you're like, this is a piece of crap, right?
Okay.
And that's kind of how this is too, because the sequel's pretty decent. I mean, it actually got some bigger name actors in it, but that first one, man, is just, that's a rough movie. But I plan on covering that because that fits right into that category as well. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, people. We're here. I called up Lee. I said, hey, man, come on the show. And I know it's always going to be something different, right? That's what I love about having him on, because it's not going to be a run of the mill, everybody knows this movie kind of thing, but it's going to deliver. And he brought up The Rift from 1990. I'm going to ask, why?
Well, my first question before I answer that, have you ever seen this before? Have you ever done this on a podcast
I
before?
have not.
Okay, good. Because I painstakingly tried to like troll through all of your episodes on Hail Ming and Short Bus and everything, and try to like, has he done this? Has he done this? I wanted to find something you hadn't done, and I also wanted to combine it with something that's been on my Letterboxd watch list
Right.
for the longest time, because I had never seen this. I'd heard about it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to eventually get to it. I heard it had Arlie Ermy in it. It had a bunch of Ray Wise in it. It had a bunch of monsters and effects, and it's kind of like the budget Deep Star 6 or Leviathan or something like that, you know. I was like, that sounds up my alley, and it sounded perfect for this. Like, I could easily have done this on like Short Bus with you guys back in the day too, right? So,
and I kind of thought maybe that's kind of the angle he was going with this, you know, because it is definitely that kind of flick. It's pretty amazing because you've got a pretty solid cast here.
Yeah.
But was it needed?
I mean, not necessarily. Like, a lot of these people are TV actors. I mean, Arlie Ermey's and Ray Wise are the biggest names there, right?
And you already know if Ray Wise is in it, you already know who the bad guy is. I mean, that's his role in life. I mean,
and the movie does its best to give it away too. Like, it's like there are all these lingering shots on Ray Wise, and he's not necessarily looking sinister, but it's like, why are we spending an extra 10 seconds looking at him for some reason?
Yeah, he's the evil bishop from the Alien flicks.
I mean, this is Aliens, right? Like,
it is.
It's very much Aliens.
Yeah, just underwater. So yeah, this is a submarine flick. I guess we can do a synopsis on it real quick. It's pretty straightforward when you think about it. It says Siren 2, a submarine under the command of Captain Phillips, ventures into a deep sea mission to recover the missing Siren 1. Their quest is hindered when the submarine becomes entangled in a patch of toxic seaweed.
Yeah.
And it says nearby, Phillips and his crew find an air-filled underwater cavern where the government conducts sinister genetic experiments.
Yeah, I don't like you've got to really suspend your disbelief for this film, because if you know anything about like how far a human body can go underwater, we have dived. I think the limit's around 900 feet for a human in a pressurized suit to get down underwater, and the limit for a submarine is about 30. I think they were accurate with the submarine.
It was close,
about 3,500 feet or whatever the fuck it is. But man, I really enjoyed this.
How can you not? I mean, because again, it's that thing where I even told my wife, she was walking through, and there was a scene where, you know, they sent the guy out, he gets the sample of the seaweed, they send it up, she puts it in the aquarium, and I was like, babe, look. I said, that's a piece of bubble wrap that's been spray painted.
Yeah, someone's done popped all the bubbles too, you know? It's like, I'm like, okay, they get around it by saying it's mutant seaweed. So, okay, we can accept that, you know? That's fine.
So, the reason you can say okay with all this is when you find out who the director is. Right? The same guy that gave us
Yeah, we got Juan Simone here.
Juan Simone.
I'm not gonna even try his middle name. I'm not
Picure.
Yeah, Picure. I don't know, but the guy who gave us Pieces and Slugs.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
yeah.
What else do you need, right?
Right.
From that point, you're like, okay, everything's off the table. I mean, you pretty much can say this movie can go any direction from this point, and it'll be like, okay, right.
Yeah. And I think he probably got his biggest budget here, right? Like, I'm thinking he did. Like, it looks like the effects and stuff. Like, the budget I found was $1.3 million.
Wow.
So
that's probably good for him.
Yeah, that's probably his biggest budget he ever had to work with.
Right.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, man. And you've got, we talked about a few people in the cast, but like you said, the big ones we're going to talk about is Ray Wise and Lee Emery in this. I mean, they kind of run this show. Yeah. Everybody else is very expendable. You already know the story when this is set up. You know, like you said, Ray Wise is sitting over there. He's the guy that's kind of seasick in a submarine.
Right. So you could already tell he's not anything Navy, like he's a duck out of water kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean our lead here,
Yeah.
Jack Scalia, like, who is he again?
Yeah.
he's I looked at his IMDb. He's like mostly a TV actor.
Right.
And one of his latest credits is like Jersey Shore Shark Attack or something like that. Yeah, like a lot of the people in the cast are actually just like heavily, like I said, heavily TV actors that they just brought on, right? So
and this guy kind of has that Mel Gibson late 80s kind of look about him with the feathered hair, you know.
He's got the Lethal Weapon Mel Gibson hair, yeah.
Yep. And his name is Wick Hayes. So they're trying to give this guy some credibility, even though he's a submarine engineer.
I guess he's like, you know, he's one of these catch-all characters from the 80s where he looks like $1 million. He's an action hero, but he's also super smart.
Right.
And of course he's got a perfect body. He's laying in his bed in the opening scene, surrounded by bottles of J&B Scotch. so you honestly, you already know this is not necessarily a totally American kind of picture, because, you know, we got the J&B Scotch everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, man, like he's just, you know, he's given all the, like, you're the coolest guy ever, but he doesn't really do anything in the movie. He
really don't.
He's not that good.
Well, Captain Phillips keeps shutting him down. So every time he pipes up about something, you know, you've got, you know, again, Emery in this, I mean, you know, he's the same character no matter what movie he's in.
He's very dialed back here, though, right? Like he's not doing his Full Metal Jacket Hartman thing.
Right. Yeah, he's a little more in the pocket with this, but he still says, you know, you're not going to do this in front of my crew. I've got to hold this crew together. And, you know, and that's the right way to go, right? Even though they even have the one argument, and he even tells him at the end, I appreciate what you did because you saved everybody's life, but don't do it again, right?
Yeah. No, because like early on, he's like, Wick, you get the hell off my bridge. Stop screwing with this mission. And then, you know, like later on, Wick like saves all their bacon, but he's still like, he's not saying you get on my bridge. He's still like, go back to your quarters, get out of here, you know.
Well, he even tells me, he says, I'm going back to my office. I think you know where that is. I think you can find your way there. I think that's what he tells me.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, I mean, you've got, it's kind of typical run the numbers here, but the big takeaway from this is the incredible amount of showcasing computer graphics of the time, right? Because we're constantly showing, you know, where we're diving down into these caverns and stuff, and it's all drawn out, you know, on a grid.
I mean, it's kind of a regression at this point, though, right? 1990, computer graphics are better than this. Like, this is something I'd expect to see in 1980.
Yeah, it looks more like the Superman 3 when he's fighting the missiles, and it's all computer animated animation. It's kind of on that level.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of tons of films that are like early computer graphics that are way better than this.
Yes.
But this doesn't have to be. Like, most of the computer stuff is strictly the radar screen, and I mean, it's supposed to be utilitarian anyway, right? Like you don't need 16-bit graphics or whatever the hell you could get at that point in 1990. So yeah, it's the Navy. There's budget cuts probably. I don't know.
And that's the guts of this is the Navy is sending Wick Hayes down here because his first submarine has malfunctioned and been lost. And they want to blame him for it instead of blaming the Navy. So they found him a patsy, and they want him to go down and try to figure out what happened. And but they've sabotaged all of his stuff too, and they've reworked the electronics in it. And again, it's the aliens idea or alien of, you know, these people are expendable. There's something down there we're wanting to get instead.
Right. Like the CEO guy he meets early on, right, is Edward Purdom, who was in Pieces and Don't Open Till Christmas, stuff like that, and just a classic actor who was in all kinds of great stuff before he did like B movies and stuff, you know. And yeah, they're setting him up as a patsy, right? Like they're like, we're gonna make him take the fall. Everyone on the sub hates Wick when he goes on because they all blame him for the deaths from the first sub that we see as Wick is like, talking to the CEO because he's recounting, the first sub went missing, and then they'll cut a shot to like a flashback somehow of like crew members in the first sub being killed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are they doing it this way? Like, wouldn't it work better if like there was an opening 5-minute scene in this movie showing all of that, and then we cut to Wick, then we cut to the meeting, then we cut to the sub and going underwater? Like,
well, again, we're talking about the director of Pieces, so
yeah,
anything can happen. You never know.
Yeah.
A guy may jump out and start doing karate in the middle of this, right? So
right.
that's the beauty of the guy in charge. But yeah, I mean, it's a little scattered, but again, the story is the story. We've heard it before, we've seen it before, but it's got some pretty cool ideas in it. I mean, this seaweed that just goes nuts when they finally get it on board, and it just starts growing and just taking over everything in the sub itself. And it's almost like it's got intelligence in it too,
Yeah, because I guess it can like. For some reason, she puts it in her fish tank, which I'm like, I would not do that. I don't think that's a thing a scientist would actually do. But it immediately infects her fish.
Yeah.
And so that's how she discovers it's bad. The giveaway wasn't the fact that how quickly it grows in the fish tank and how it's moving on its own. That's not a giveaway to anybody on this crew. But yeah. And after that, I would not be touching this stuff, but everyone seems to want to touch the seaweed no matter what, But
yeah, the giveaway was the fish that flew out of the tank to commit suicide to get away from the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's got like the genetic experiments, I guess they've been doing. It's all centers around the seaweed that can infect creatures and then like just mutate them. So it's got that Leviathan sub theme going on because that was all about mutagens on a Russian sub, right?
Yep.
If I remember correctly, I think that's what it's Leviathan's the mutagen one. Yeah, Deep Star 6 is the one where it's like the
creature,
giant sea scorpion or something from yeah.
Yep, that's you're right, and that's probably where this movie came from too. It's just a knockoff of the aquatic horror stuff of the time.
Well, it did. Like I think there's a trivia item. So this is a Dino De Laurentiis production, and basically what he wanted to do, like he did Leviathan, and then he wanted to make a low budget version of that as well. I guess just to cover all the bases, like
corner the market. Yeah.
Let's get into the rental stuff with this like really quickly before, because back in the day, you would put a movie into theaters and it would take like maybe 3 to 6 months for it to show up in the rentals, maybe something like that. Whereas here you could have Leviathan in theaters, and in the same time you could have this directly going to VHS.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That's what I just for because somebody wanted me to, not because I wanted to, but I went through all the Carnosaur movies.
Okay. I accept your excuse. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Tangent. But yeah, man, I mean that first movie, I remember when it came out, I felt insulted because I was actually hyped about it because the cover kind of looked cool, and it's right before Jurassic Park's coming out, so it did the exact same thing. It hit the VHS market just a few months before Jurassic Park, so it was riding that wave, and I was just like, "This is what we got." I mean, but I do see the fun in those, and I understand it's the same thing we're talking about here. This created low budget movie to fill that gap, and come on, man, Dino was a smart dude. He may not have made the best movies, but I think what was the saying on Hellming? 68% of the time you're going to be blown away.
That sounds right. I mean, Dino was a hustler. He knew what he was doing. He was probably more savvy than like Canon Films and stuff like that. As far as that goes.
Well, he wasn't going to blow a huge budget. I mean, I think he learned that from King Kong, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm going to say it. Still my favorite King Kong, but that's
I like it a lot. I have a lot of time for that movie.
Me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Dino was really good at being able to hit just the right spot with the low budget stuff, enough to get it out there and be able to say, okay, that's on that scale, it's successful.
Yeah, and he had the money and the resources to screw up and then, reel back and fix the problems. Like he's not like a Roger Corman who had to like make a banger every time pretty much, kind of thing. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally different market too at that time. So, but yeah. So yeah, man, I mean, and you talk about this. I mean, it's one thing we talk about the computer graphics, but that little submarine model that they used. It's like I remember getting that in a box of Captain Crunch when I was a kid. It's like the same thing, It's like you put a little baking soda in it and it goes.
But they I'll give them credit. Like a lot of this film's. I assume you watched this on Tubi, like I did, or so I mean, I don't know if there's any necessarily better version out there. I think this is probably about as good as it's going to look. It's fairly dark, so like. Even though in the back of your mind, yes, it's a little toy sub in a set, right? It still looks pretty good. Like it's dark enough that it hides most of its flaws. I think my biggest complaint is that it's also dark when it's starting to have the monsters pop out. It's like I'd rather see a little bit more of the monsters. Thanks, that'd be cool.
Yeah, there's one in there that I thought from what I could see, looked really kind of cool. But then it kind of gets blasted with a shotgun. You're like, okay, there went that one. Yeah. It's the one that like the bites the dude's leg off.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool looking creature, but you only got to see, and that's the magic of these movies, right? Is you only could see just a part of it.
It's the one who looked like the merman from He-Man or whatever, whatever his name was. Yeah, he's got because he had the thin like ears or whatever kind of thing going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so and all these little almost kind of fly larva looking things that are everywhere, which again is pretty cool because they're just set up to pop out of holes and bite a dude on the face and get him infected. And I mean, so you got all those things happening, which becomes very entertaining, But the fact that they go down and find this cavern where the government and basically the Navy has been making biological weapons in a cavern under the sea.
And I gotta think they'd have so all these caves they go through. I gotta think, if the government actually was setting up a lab like 2,700 feet under the sea or whatever the hell it is, they would have some better facilities there. Like it would be more like the underground facility in Dawn of the Dead or something like that, right? Where there's a lot of actual buildings and stuff. But no, it's just like computer terminals stuck in a rock almost, it looks like, kind of thing. It's
like, where are you getting the power from? I mean,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, it was a huge room full of computers and machines. And it's like, is this running off of 112 off a generator? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, what kind of generator did they have down there, man? Like they must have had a nuclear reactor or something installed in there somewhere because they have their DNA change machine or whatever the hell it is that drags that one girl in and
thing's huge.
Yeah, it's big.
And again, it's actually that's the picture behind me if you see it there. I've got that sunflower creature behind me there.
Oh man, I love that.
I thought that was cool.
I'm so surprised that they escaped it or killed it or whatever so quickly though. It's like that's your final boss and
we needed more of that one. I thought so too. It's like really
but they did a great like stop motion with it and it is so cool. And I do love that they do set it up though. It's like they walk into the cavern and they don't see it, but everyone watching the movie sees it. And it's like, oh crap, what is that? What is that right there? That's like Cthulhu or something sitting up on the friggin' ceiling, man.
Yeah, you expect to see that thing just start crawling down and coming after them, but it's pretty stationary. But
I mean, if I remade it, I would, I'd still probably do actual practical effects and stuff. I would have it come off the ceiling.
Sure. Yeah, because it looks like, I mean, with the legs sprawled out there, you expect this thing to just start going, coming down after them. But still, visually, it's very cool. And again, that's where these movies deliver. Show me something I haven't seen before.
Right.
And even though you've kind of seen it, it's that thing of just changing it up just enough to make you go, interesting idea. Could have been better, but the idea is there, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the effects in this, as far as that goes, they're really great. It gets really gory.
Yeah, it does.
And I was getting, I'm sure you're familiar with Contamination, the Luigi Koji
I
film.
was just about to bring that up because that was the first movie I've done on Dr. Movie. And it's because I talked about, I think whoever decided to make that movie had seen the poster for Alien, but never really saw Alien.
Right.
And just made a movie based off that poster, right?
Yeah. Luigi Cosi in typical Italian exploitation fashion, just, yes, Alien, I know what that is, and then made something totally different. And in this movie, I got a feeling that there was some influence there, because you got the white suits with the gas, the face masks, and then you have exploding squibs. Yep. The one guy who gets his head, she does the mercy kill on the dude and blows his head open, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is Contamination right here.
It is. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, man, and I, you bringing that up, I just covered. It'll come out probably in a couple of weeks. I'm a few weeks ahead on the show. That's what I like about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I did Cannibal Apocalypse.
Okay.
And I'm basically going, when you want to make Dawn of the Dead, but you can't do the makeup effects for the Dawn of the Dead, so you just make them all have rabies. There you go. That's what this movie is. They're dressed just like people in Dawn of the Dead. They're playing the exact same music from Dawn of the Dead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the Bruno Mattei one.
Yeah, that's
Mattei. Yeah. I know it is. But what's the name I know it by? It's not Cannibal Apocalypse that I know it by. It's
this got several names.
Yeah, but yeah, that one's shameless because Bruno Mattei, and I mean our friend Court Psyops can attest to this one.
Oh yeah,
where he is the trashiest of the trash meisters. Where
absolutely
he was just making this crap, and some of it's actually pretty good. And yeah, he was just ripping off Dawn of the Dead and that so hardcore that it's just like, I'm just gonna steal Goblin's music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the same music from Dawn of the Dead. Same cues. I remember when I was listening, I was like, man, this sounds like Dawn of the Dead. And I was like, this is Dawn of the Dead.
Yes. And I just love how, conveniently the SWAT team in that movie, it's like, oh, I've discovered to kill the zombies, we're going to shoot them in the head.
And then
3 seconds later, they all forget. And they just keep shooting the body. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I talk about, there's one guy that looks like a 1981 Lars Ulrich running around going, no, you got to shoot him in the head like this. Mm-hmm. Anyways, we need to get back to this one.
Yeah.
But be looking for that one, folks. But that's what I love about these movies, man, because even though they are kind of ripping things off, they're going to put their own spin on it. And there's something fascinating about it because eventually you kind of take an idea that they had, that that they kind of ripped off, and we take it and we make it into something here too. So, it's funny how you just kind of see that repeat. I brought that up in Contamination. What was it? There was something that I said that we kind of took from them. Oh, it was the flamethrower.
Okay.
Cooking the eggs, because it was before Aliens 2. Well, what did they do in Aliens 2? Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, when you look at the sort of structure of this and just how it's kind of filmed and everything, this is very much like those sci-fi monster movies from from the Sci-Fi Network. It's just better effects and better acted.
Yep.
But I mean, this is the kind of thing they churn out like on a seemingly weekly basis. They just get a bunch of actors that either no one's heard of or they've fallen down to like D-list status, and then they have them, act around CGI effects that they can't see.
Right.
At least these people are like acting around squibs and exploding monsters and stuff like that, right? And
then outside the ship, you've got, almost going back to Fantastic Voyage or any of your movies like that, where you've got the miniatures, but here's the submarine and it's being attacked by something and ends up being just a big glob of, I don't know, vanilla pudding or.
I was gonna say kaiju jellyfish, try to give it some credit, but vanilla
it did have
pudding,
an eyeball. It did. Have an eyeball.
Right.
But yeah, so you got that kind of thing going on where that really harkens back to those days of, 100,000 Leagues Under the Sea, all those movies that had that kind of stuff going on. So
yeah.
So in a way you can kind of appreciate it. It's dated from a 90s aspect, but they're not doing anything different. It wasn't, everybody loved that stuff back in the day, man. Fantastic Voyage, I still love.
Yeah, no, all these effects are like the stuff they've been using for the last 40 years up to that point, basically. And this is just before Jurassic Park kind of changes the entire game, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. I mean, it's a fun flick, man.
Mhm.
I like the Joe Kane character too. You know, he's got the thing where he's got the binoculars or whatever. He's got the magnifying glasses on. He's looking at the girl over there that's reaching up to get something. He's like, yeah, that's it right there, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't let him perv out enough in the film. He spends too much time like, talking about the white man and you're the kind of white man I like, Wick.
And he's the only one that goes, I think we ought to go out of here and let somebody else come down here and take care of this. He says it twice.
No, he knowingly says, oh yeah, send the black man out first. You can make me go in the boat first or whatever. Like, yeah, okay. Like he knows what movie's in, man. He knows.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought it was a fun flick, man. I mean, and again, you can see the shortcuts, right? You can see the shortcuts in it. But I think again, because talking about the people that are in this, they pull it off enough that you kind of go, all right, this is an okay flick.
Yeah.
And again, with the fight scene at the end, when they get Ray Rice down and he rubs his face.
Oh yeah.
On that other guy's face that's got the seaweed on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's badass stuff.
That was pretty cool.
Ermy gets to do a little bit of cool crap, and it's just like, and then he even sacrifices himself, right? Because it's like, he puts his arm, I'm already infected, man.
Right. Yeah. You know what? Fun flick, man. And you really, again, like I said, I knew you were going to bring something different to the show, and that's why I always like working with you. But you never cease to amaze with what you kind of pulled out of there. I thought maybe of course Ray Weiss has been in everything.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, immediately you go to Twin Peaks is what most people think of. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see him in this because I honestly didn't do much research. I just I heard this movie. It sounds really cool. Put it on my Letterboxd watch list. And then you contact me, pick a movie. I was like, okay, I'm going right to my watch list. Let's do this one. Let's get it. I think it's actually was the first thing on my watch list. So it's like, awesome. Maybe I should clean this off. It's been on there for like 5 years. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, normally I do the standard kind of rating thing on this too. It's a 1 through 5, right? Mm-hmm. 5 being best, 1 being a 0. What do you rate this movie, man?
I was originally going to go with 3, but like talking about it just made me enjoy it a bit more. So I'm going to sit at a 4 with this one. Yeah. Like it does have some little flaws here and there. There's a little bit of rough edges to it, but it's highly enjoyable. It's got great effects in it. It's fun. It breezes along real quick. It's only like 80 minutes.
Yeah, it's short.
Yeah. And if you're looking for like just a trashy kind of ripoff, like honestly, it's kind of the trashy ripoff of not even Leviathan. It's kind of like the trashy version of Deep Star 6, which is the trashy version of Leviathan.
Right.
So if you want to go down even a couple more pegs, this is a lot of fun. So 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, that's kind of where it is for me too. But it's a 4. It's it's enjoyable enough that there's actual scenes here that you could actually share with people. Go check this out.
Yeah.
Don't check this part out, but check this part out, right?
Yeah, and like I was never bored anytime I watched this, right? Because like I said, this is kind of the template for like the sort of sci-fi channel movies you see these days that are, and most of them are so boring unless they have like a bunch of bikini girls running around, which they rarely do anymore. It's like, okay, why am I watching this? Why am I watching piranha shark versus whale wolf octopi? No, I don't need that. I need this movie where we get like 10 minutes in and people are already getting infected by seaweed and like dying. And then we got the whole cave sequence and it's like everyone starts dropping dead real quick. And I'm like, yeah, this movie rocks. It's very efficiently just gets to the point and doesn't like linger on a bunch of crap. It doesn't make you sit there and think about too much like, man, this submarine's way bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
But again, it comes down to if you like, I don't know, let's say the creatures that are in Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah,
there's some creatures that are very similar in this that you kind of see roaming around in this movie, which I kind of dig, right? And how about, and the first thing I thought of, well, two things I thought of when the diver goes out, Sven goes out to get the seaweed and the black box, right? The mysterious black box. And he goes down there and there's a body floating around, right? And it's like, wow, that's straight out of Big Trouble in Little China or Inferno.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. And also, very weirdly, he doesn't seem to, like, he gets over it real quick, and then no one else seems to care. It's like, you found one of the crew floating dead in the water. Maybe you should bring his body on to study or something, like, because he's got like tentacles and stuff, like, coming out of his face, and oh no, we'll forget about that. Get more seaweed. Let's do
and
that.
you get a flash of like this humongous octopus. Never again. It's just there for a couple of seconds, and then you get the jello fish, the pudding fish, or whatever that thing was. Yeah. So it's got its issues, but it's fun enough. Again, it's kind of going to leave us saying if you like, low budget but entertaining flicks, this is a good one. It really surprised me.
Yeah, same here. I was watching it tonight, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, I picked something good. That's good. Ricky and I are not going to sit here for like 20 minutes trying to come up with something to say about this piece of crap. It's actually entertaining. So yeah, I was like, oh no, yeah, I kind of knew. I was like, oh, if Ricky hasn't seen this, he's going to like it. So
yeah, I never doubted it, man. We've kind of got that extra sense. We kind of know what ballpark we're both in, right? So, again, Short Bus was, trying to find the worst crap you can watch. So if we can make that fun, we can make anything fun.
Yeah.
If you can make it through Battlefield Earth and have a show talking about it, then, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you coming on. It's always a blast getting together with you, man. I hope we can do this some more. This show, I've got a lot more freedom that I can do these kind of things where it just I can kind of do whatever I want. Kind of like that. But, man, take a little time. I know you've got the Torchies thing going on too. Let everybody know what shows you got it on. Do your spiel.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, it was great to get back to talk with you too. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, my main podcast is They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. You can go to tmbdos.podbean.com to find that. And basically, like we were talking about, we sort of, tend to cover a little bit everything. We do kind of like lean towards cult and exploitation and obscure and stuff like that. But, we do a little bit of everything. We even do like musicals and modern films and, whatever sort of tickles our fancy. It's like, hey, let's do this week. Okay, we'll do it. That's what our show is. And it has a sub podcast called Blood on the Tracks where I cover movie soundtracks and scores that I like. So that's also fun. The other thing that we mentioned, it is on Legion Podcasts, like you're listening to right now. And if you're paying for the Patreon, you lucky dogs, you get more of it. Last Call at Torchies, where Gary Hill from Cinema Beef and Cameron Scott from Cinema Degeneration. I think I got that right.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't fuck that up. Sorry, Cameron. We cover Walter Hill's films. We've been going through his filmography, one film at a time. We have gotten up to another 48 hours, which is coming out fairly soon. And what we do with the Patreon, if you join the Legion Patreon, you get a bonus episode with every episode that we do. That we sort of like, hey, we pair a film that's similar to the film we're covering from Walter Hill's filmography. So we did another 48 hours on the main feed. Patreon feed, you're going to get The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and what's his name? Dude from Drive. I'm totally blanking on his name. Pretty boy.
What is it?
I can't even. Ryan Gosling. There you go. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that's what we do. That's what we do.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, with Hill, man. God. What a list of movies, man.
Yeah, and it's been fun too, because I only had like a few Walter Hill films under my belt that I had actually seen, and as we get further into his career, I've seen even less. So we're getting up to,
Cool.
like kind of midpoint of his career now, where it's like I haven't seen a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it has been really, really good. So I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. We get to talk about really fun films. So
my good friend Shannon Story, his favorite movie of pretty much all time is Streets of Fire.
Oh yeah.
So he's a big fan of that movie. So he'll be glad to hear his name shouted out anytime that I have to bring that up. He had to throw his name in there.
There you go. And he picked a good favorite too. That's a great film.
It's a great one. Yeah. I kind of lean more towards probably still Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Warriors and Southern Comfort kind of guy. And
Southern Comfort's awesome. Yeah.
But then we were getting to the late '80s, and it's like, okay, Walter Hill's doing a couple of more mainstream films, but then he does something like Extreme Prejudice, which is like the A-Team and the Wild Bunch all mixed together. I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. Why have I never seen this before?
Yeah. Long Riders.
Long Riders is great. Yeah.
Who doesn't know Crossroads, right?
Yeah,
Ralph Macchio fighting Steve Vai.
Yeah. Crossroads, I kind of like everything in that but Ralph Macchio, but I'm not a big Ralph Macchio fan, but he doesn't need to be the main character, because you got like a bunch of supporting cast in that one that's really good.
Yep.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, cool, man. I don't hold you up anymore. I appreciate you coming on, man. Always a pleasure. I have to say this real quick too, because Lee was obviously early supporter of Helming too, and he even sent us a song once.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got a friend in Ming.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
So that kind of shows you right there that we try to support each other as any way we can and have fun with it, and it's great to have an association with all these people that this is the only way we're going to really meet, right?
Yeah.
You're not even in the States, so.
No. I'm on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, about to fall off, so.
But that's the beauty of being able to do this and get to know people and still see that regardless of where we are, we still have a love for these same bad movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh. All right, folks, that's going to be it for us. Lee, again, appreciate you coming on, brother.
Oh, man, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you for inviting me. It was great.
Right, and everybody, again, stop what you're doing, even stop this show. Go check out They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. I demand you do that. You're going to enjoy it.
You heard the man. Do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Folks, we will check you later. Adios.
Bye.